Hi, this is Brett from PM2 Consulting. I'd like to take you through a story of how it is you can build your strategy execution roadmap. Here's the issue. We see all these organizations that have strategies. They've got their objectives, they've got, their four pillars, their triangle, overlapping circles, whatever metaphor they use. They've got shiny brochures, and yet the success rate of executing on strategy is so low. Some people say as low as 30%. And the reason is we don't have a clear roadmap on how to execute that strategy. And so here is what you can do to solve that problem. Now, ultimately, what we're going to be trying to help you build out is almost that cause and effect hypothesis. In order for you to achieve an objective, what are the things you need to do? To achieve those things, what things need to get done, and so forth, all the way down. That's the end game. Let's talk about how to do this. It's not all that complicated. Let's take a simple example. Let's say we have a for-profit organization whose objective is to drive sales. That's one of their top 5 or 10 corporate level objectives for the year. And we can ask ourselves the question, how? How will we achieve this objective? So with your leadership team, what are the things we need to do to drive sales? Now, the constraint is this. Strategy is all about focus. And so we want you to limit to the 3 biggest performance drivers. I know there's a gazillion, but what are the 3 biggest? Now, it's a bit difficult sometimes to come up with these because we tend to look at, in the example of sales, what's going to put dollars on the table in the near term. But we really need to take a look at these in terms of, I'm going to say, the strategic return on investment. By strategic, I mean there's some things we need to do that don't have an immediate payoff. So for drive sales, maybe I need to, launch new products or, change markets or whatever it might be. So there's things I need to do now that don't give me an immediate dollar feedback, but they do give me strategy points. They earn back strategy points towards that longer term solution. And then we have to figure out, what do I get the best return on resources? So if I'm going to go do an activity, it's going to cost a certain amount of dollars, certain amount of time, constrained resources. We need to make sure that we pick those that are going to give us the best payback. And then the final dimension to this is we have to think of the time horizon. Are we looking this as our strategic ROI over 1 quarter, half a year, 1 year, multiple years? And that depends on your organization and where you are in your growth cycles. So in this case of drive sales, let's say we determine there's 3. First, we need to increase our salespeople's productivity. Again, that's a driver of overall driving sales. A second might be entering new markets, and a third might be launching new products. So again, work with our team. We've determined these to be the key things we need to do. And so just for terminology, this is that top level strategic objective, and that might be a corporate level. It might be your product, it might be the region, it might be the branch office, whatever the top level is that you're working against. And these are what we call the first level performance drivers, or LPD. And these are the things that if you work on these 3 drivers, you'll have the biggest impact on the objective, in this case, drive sales. Now, there are advantages to doing this, right? One advantage is I'm leveraging senior leadership's knowledge of the overall organization and the business, the market, and so on. And so think of this as like forming the skeleton or framing a house, right? When you first build a house, you lay the foundations and you build the frame. And later on, to that frame, we add all the details, the wiring, the plumbing, air conditioning, drywall, etc. But the frame determines the overall structure that we need to follow. And this is the frame that we're determining for our strategy. Now, to some extent, you can do this top down or bottom up. And the argument here is we're better off taking the first pass from the top down because that allows us to focus energy and not waste cycles on things that we know are not going to work. The dilemma is leadership doesn't have complete knowledge. Leadership has a perception of knowledge based on how processes were done back when they did it, etc. So we eventually need the bottom-up reflection, but this is a good starting point. Now, this series of 3 key level 1 performance drivers they form what I'm going to call the first level event horizon. So that first level is, the first level of things that we need to do. And the event horizon, eventually, as you build out all the objectives, will include everything that's in that first level, all the first level LPDs. Now, from there, we want to begin surfacing the second level performance drivers. And the process is the same. Now, you might want to include the next level of leadership down for this conversation with that little bit more detailed knowledge of the organization and current activities. And we're going to say, how are we going to increase salespeople's productivity in this case? And let's say there's three things we're going to do. We're going to train the existing salespeople. We're going to help reduce their non-productive time, expense reports and QBRs and so on. And then we're also going to implement Salesforce. But this is a project. So these things tend to be more run the business, the daily activities which are going on that we're just going to do more of or do it better. And this is a project where I'm building something out of nothing. So again, we've determined what are the three performance drivers that will help us increase salespeople's productivity and aid of drive sales. For entering new markets, we're going to build market readiness, customize the offering, research new markets, and launch new products. We're going to bring new products to market, provide product launch materials, and build product pipelines. So you can see what we've now done is obviously we've got that first event horizon, and now we've begun to flesh out what's in that second event horizon. And again, the second event horizon includes only the second level performance drivers. And so this obviously is a scalable model. You just keep repeating for whatever level of detail you need. And it's important to note that we're just capturing the objectives. We haven't yet set what are the key results to measure this, what are the targets. This just gives us the framework, the overall structure, and the rest of the organization is going to have to flesh that out. Eventually, we end up with this model that we looked at before. In fact, in most organizations, when we build it out, we'll end up looking something like this. So I'm just going to scroll up. You can see that they've got their overall objectives. The yellow one is the level 2s and so on. And they've built it all the way down to their key results or sub-objectives that they need to chase down. I'll just drill into a bit here. So you can see all the way through, we've detailed out what it is that needs to get done. And eventually we can lead into the ownership and so forth. So that becomes the overall strategy execution roadmap. These are the things that we need to do to achieve the overall objective. Now, once you've done this, there are some other applications that you can use this framework for. And the thing I want to talk about now is the ability for you to make sure that execution happens. How do you do that? Well, we need to build what I'm going to call the modern management system. And this is the way that you're going to monitor and manage your strategy execution. So let's go back to that example we were talking about before. If you remember, we've got drive sales. And maybe what we'll do is begin determining what are the key results that we would have, the level 1 key results that indicate whether we're making progress on this objective. So for example, the objective of new products, we've decided that 3 key results are what are the number of new products we brought to market, and that's based on a rolling 3-month average. What are the dollars that we get from new products? That's actually a rolling 12-month number. And what are the product web page views that we're seeing? In other words, are we actually getting the marketing materials out there and being seen? And so we can develop the key results across all these areas. Now, of course, this means this is what we can begin to monitor to make sure that we're ensuring new markets. So each one of these has targets, red, yellow, green performance, aggregates up to red, yellow, green by the sub-objective, and so forth. Now, what this also allows us to do is to create the level 0 key results based on these first level key results. So for example, for drive sales, one obvious key result is going to be drive total revenue. But what we're going to do is we're going to use these level 1 key results and choose those that we want to promote onto that top level. So for example, if I take a look at increased salespeople's productivity, maybe we say the best overall indicator is dollar sales by rep. So that one gets promoted up to level 2. Now, it may appear in both. so that if it's red here, it's red here, and so forth. Here, enter new markets. Maybe it's going to be dollars from new markets. And for new products, maybe it's, I don't know, dollars for new products. So the idea is I can go from the bottom up to inform what are the overall indicators. So again, think of this as, I don't know, the dashboard of your car. You've got the check engine light, which is triggered by a series of sub-measures, how your fuel system is going, how the O2 system is going, how the exhaust system is going, and so forth, that will trigger whether I'm red, yellow, green on the overall objective. So there's also the opposite. So let's say that we did it the opposite way. So we've got the objective drive sales, and we've decided these are the key results that we need to achieve around drive sales. We can actually use these key results to inform us of what we might want at the next level down. So it's going to inspire the teams to the right thinking. So again, they're going to say, gosh, one of the key results is dollar sales by rep. Well, I guess that means I need to create a sub-objective of increasing salespeople's productivity in order to increase dollar sales by rep. Maybe I'm going to take a look at dollars from new markets, and that's going to inspire me to set an objective of enter new markets. And of course, new products is going to inspire me to set an objective of launch new products. So in this case, we've done a top-down build based on the key results. Now, my experience is when leadership teams meet, they kind of do both at the same time. They go, what are the key drivers that we need to do? The first example I showed you. And then secondly, we take a look at what are the key results and see whether we're going to get the key results that we want and vice versa. So in this way, you can begin building out that overall hierarchy, what we're calling the strategy execution roadmap that details out what needs to get done. And you can choose at what time you bring in people from beyond the leadership team and what level of involvement they have, whether it's helping build the sub-objectives or the sub-sub-objectives, whether it's helping surface what are the right key results and so forth. But by the time you're done, you'll end up building that modern management system and the framework that allows you to make sure that what is getting done is focused on what needs to get done to achieve the current objectives. I hope this has been useful to you. Thanks for your time.